That studio is called TPS Production Services, LLC. That stands for Tyler Perry Studios in Action, LLC. And he is looking for $260 million. Dixon, who portrayed a lead role in Perry's show called The
260 is crazy. I don't know where he came up with that number yet. Obviously, you know you're not going to get 260 million. But come on. What happened to the 10, 20, $30 million range? Come on. 260 million.
Oval is claiming 10 causes of action for the civil suit. Quid pro quo sexual harassment, work environment, sexual harassment, workplace gender violence, violation of the Bain Act, a California law that protects against violation of someone's civil rights through force or coercion, sexual battery, sexual assault, negligent retention, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and retaliation. Let's get into this lawsuit. The complaint starts off by saying, quote, "This case arises from a sustained pattern of workplace sexual harassment, assault, and retaliation."
Now, this is a new guy before we get into it. There was alleged that as an actor by the name of Christian Keys about a year ago, he was alleging that someone in Hollywood, very powerful, sounded like it would be Tyler Perry, and he's also worked with Tyler Perry multiple times, was engaged in sexual assault, touching him and calling him and touching him inappropriately, calling him and saying inappropriate things and getting him drunk and so on. So we'll see what this is. But just to add a little context, it's not the first time now. Tyler Perry was not named in the last one by Christian Keys, but how many black rich tycoons in the movie industry is there?
Perpetrated by Tyler Perry, a powerful media mogul, against plaintiff Derek Dixon, a professional actor and screenwriter. Mr. Perry is an American actor, filmmaker, and playwright who has built one of the most successful careers in the film and television industry. Mr. Perry took his success and power and used his considerable influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploitive dynamic with Mr. Dixon, initially promising him career advancement and creative opportunities, such as producing his pilot and casting him in his show, only to subject him to escalating sexual harassment, assault, and battery, and professional retaliation when Mr. Dixon did not reciprocate Mr. Perry's unwanted advances. These events occurred while Mr. Dixon was employed as a series regular on the Tyler Perry show, The Oval, and while Mr. Perry held direct control over his employment, compensation, and creative opportunities. This lawsuit even compares Perry to some other infamous celebrities who have been called out for their behavior in the past. Quote, "Just like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Sean P. Diddy Combs, Kevin Spacey, Roger Ailes, and many others in the industry, Mr. Perry's success has led him to believe that money and influence can get him whatever he wants. That belief slowly transformed into the false idea that Mr. Perry can get whomever he wants." According to the lawsuit, Dixon was working as part of an event staff at a party that Perry was hosting in Atlanta when Perry noticed him and offered him the chance to audition for a part in one of his hit TV shows. Before we get back to this bombshell lawsuit involving Tyler Perry, I want to bring you a law and crime legal alert. Offered him his guest bedroom. Dixon says he accepted, but then he claims that while he was asleep, Perry climbed into bed with him and tried to initiate sex. Dixon says he tried to distance himself, flirt with him through text messages, and his advances became more aggressive. Dixon claims that he was invited to Perry's Georgia home, where he and Perry drank together. When Perry told him he was too drunk to drive.
So what came first, the flirtations, text, or you spending the night at his house? Now, this may be considered victim shaming, yeah, but if a grown man is flirting with you and you're not interested and you are a grown man, why would you then put yourself in a position to go to his house, not only get drunk, but get so drunk that you can't drive and that you need to spend the night at this man's house who has allegedly shown interest in you sexually, that you are not reciprocating?
And offered him his guest bedroom. Dixon says he accepted, but then he claims that while he was asleep, Perry climbed into bed with him and tried to initiate sex. Dixon says he tried to distance himself from Perry, but he was offered a role on Perry's show, The Oval. The lawsuit then reads, Dixon did his...
Oh, that's where your morals are? I wanted to resist, but I was offered a TV show, a role on a TV show. Come on, man. This is
best to tiptoe around Tyler Perry's sexual aggression while keeping on Mr. Perry's good side. Mr. Perry made it clear to Dixon that if Dixon ignored Perry or failed to engage with the sexual innuendos, Dixon's character would die in the next season. Indeed, Dixon's character Dale was shot 4 times in the chest at the end of his first season on the Oval, and Perry always held this over Dixon's head, implying that Dale would survive if Dixon kept Perry, quote, happy. According to the complaint, Perry had made it clear to Dixon that he would kill characters in order to get an actor to be loyal or obedient. During the pandemic, Dixon says Perry convinced him to stay in one of the houses that was part of Tyler Perry's studios. Quote, in or around April of 2020, and while Dixon was living in the studio homes on set, Perry often coerced Dixon to drink alcohol and then get on the phone with Perry. Perry would frequently have someone drop.
no. What do you mean you were coerced to drink? You are he's not a child. This is a grown man we're talking about. Coerced to drink alcohol, you were offered alcohol, even if he insisted. Coerced is crazy. We gotta stop using this word coerced. I don't care how many times you ask me to drink. If I don't want to drink, I'm not going to drink. I don't care who you are. You have to have some type of integrity and some type of morals to yourself. If you stand on something, you stand on it. You don't stand on it except for if you might lose something. You might lose. If you can't make $1 million, stand on your morals, then you just can't make the $1 million. But you don't. And he should have been sued for this then, but you're letting this thing kind of carry on here now. I'm not saying that if these things happen that Tyler Perry shouldn't be sued, because he should be sued, not for $260 million. That's crazy. But by the same token, after a while, you're just putting yourself in these scenarios. And that's not to invalidate, again, the lawsuit, but it is to say, come on, man, you're not a huge victim. You are a victim, not worth $260 million. He'd have took something from you for us to get up to $260 million.
Drop off alcohol at Dixon's door. Perry would eventually turn these phone calls into sexually explicit rants. Perry would get frustrated with Dixon and tell Dixon that he was not giving Perry, quote, what he needs. Dixon's refusal to succumb to Perry's sexual advances caused Perry to be ever more frustrated. Eventually, Perry warned Dixon that if Dixon told his castmates about the harassment, Dixon would be opening himself up to lots of, quote, questions and foolishness, and demanded that Dixon not discuss any of their conversations with his castmates. Dixon's lawsuit also listed out,
why would you record these interactions? Let me get some unwarranted advances via text or phone call. I'm turned into the feds ASAP. You would have been sued, buddy. You cooked. You're out of here. I need my check by tomorrow. You can just settle. That's cool. It's not for 260. 260 still crazy. That $250 million is one of the dumbest amounts I've ever seen in my life.
some of the sexual commentary by Perry that Dixon claimed he experienced while filming The Oval in 2020. This is what he says that Perry told him. Dixon said that Perry told him, quote, that he liked being choked. That was after Dixon's character was choked by a cast member in a scene on The Oval. Perry also allegedly said, why do you twist your hips when you walk? How can I get a day of Dixon? When will you be thick again?
How can I get a day of Dixon? What the... Bro, how can I get a day of Dixon is crazy word.
Also allegedly said, why do you twist your hips when you walk? How can I get a day of Dixon? When will you be thick again? I love how I feel right now, but I don't like being horny. I feel sorry for the first person who flirts with me, and I've been trying to put that energy somewhere else, but everything is sexual on this stuff. The lawsuit also contained numerous text messages from Perry to Dixon, some of which seem to have been sent when Perry was intoxicated, and if Dixon didn't respond according to the complaint, Perry would hound him. Dixon also claims the harassment turned physical. Quote, on multiple occasions, Mr. Perry sexually assaulted Mr. Dixon, including one instance where he forcibly pulled off Mr. Dixon's clothing, groped his buttocks.
Are you feeling stuck with $10,000 or more in debt and all the interest that comes with it? Try National Debt Relief, as seen on the Wall Street.
And attempted to...
How did he pull? He pulled your clothes. Come on, man. Now, Tyler Perry is not a small man by any means, but come on, man. He tore your clothes off and then grabbed your butt. This sounds a little fishy, I have to say. Come on, he tore your clothes. He ripped your pants down, gripped your ass. What were you doing?
Force himself on Dixon. Mr. Dixon told a drunken Perry no and attempted to remove Mr. Perry's hands, but Mr. Perry held tightly onto Dixon's wrists. Mr. Dixon was only able to escape after de-escalating the situation by abruptly changing the subject. The day after the assault...
Come on, man. This is ridiculous. This don't even sound right. And I'm not saying that he was not a victim of sexual harassment, but he might be throwing a little sazon on this one right here, because Tyler Perry was so adamant and so aggressive that he wanted your butt. He forcibly ripped your clothes off without you wanting it. Gripped your butt. Then gripped your wrist so tight. But you just changed the subject and he just, oh, I forgot I wanted your butt. Like, what, come on, man. This doesn't even make sense.
Mr. Perry called and texted Mr. Dixon relentlessly saying, tried you, call me, and I really need to talk to you. Please call me as soon as you can. And finally, when Mr. Dixon answered Tyler Perry's call, Mr. Perry profusely apologized for the sexual assault while blaming it on other things. Perry continued, quote, he didn't know why he would do that. Maybe he was self-sabotaging. On the very same call where he apologized for the sexual assault against Dixon, Perry told Dixon, quote, and don't worry, we're going to do your show, referring to the pilot that Perry knew Mr. Dixon had desperately wanted to produce. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Dixon got a call from Perry's lawyer saying that Christmas had come early and that Dixon was getting a substantial raise and the show was greenlit. Perry's attorney explicitly warned Dixon not to tell any other actor on the show about Dixon's raise because no other actors were getting a raise, only Dixon. Later in the lawsuit, Dixon's lawyers write, in or around April 2022, before beginning to shoot the next season of The Oval, Perry called Dixon to discuss the June 2021 sexual assault. On the phone call, Perry lectured Dixon about how Dixon was overreacting to the sexual assault because of prior sexual assaults in Dixon's life. Perry said that there was a misunderstanding and miscommunication and that Dixon needed to say no stronger. In other words, Perry blamed Dixon for the sexual assault, claiming that Perry felt that Dixon's no was really a yes because Dixon did not say no strongly enough. Dixon says
I don't believe that.
he finally, quote, woke up to the fact that Perry was allegedly stringing him along about working with him on his own show to keep him around to be sexually harassed. In 2024, Dixon reported Perry's alleged conduct to the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity.
You're okay with being sexually harassed as long as you get something out of it. I'm all for it. Again, I'll say this a million times. Sue his ass if he did it. But don't just not sue him because you want to get something out of it. This is the issue. And I think I've said this before. People who do stuff like this are disgusting. You're not brave. So if you would have got what you wanted, you would have just stayed silent. And let's just hypothetically say that Tyler Perry is sexually assaulting men and using his power and influence to sexually assault men. By you not saying something because you got what you wanted, that puts more people in danger of receiving the same treatment that you received. And only reason that you are saying something is not because it's coming from the kindness of your heart, not because you want to stop a monster, but because you didn't get what you wanted monetarily. So now you want to come and sue this man when who knows how many people hypothetically, allegedly, that he's may have done this to since you've been gone.
Commission. According to the lawsuit, after reporting the sexual harassment, defendants, which is Perry and his studio, did not make any investigation into the complaint and did not take any steps to prevent further harassment from occurring. Because defendants took no action to prevent further assault or harassment, Dixon had to quit his job.
So you want to come to Penn State, but with all the different campuses and majors that the school has to offer, sometimes it's hard to find the right fit at first.
Working on the last season.
Again, he quit, but he quit because the show that was greenlit for him, unless I'm wrong, the show that was greenlit for him never came to fruition.
Season of The Oval. Dixon did so even though he was under contract to finish filming and stood to make close to $400,000. Dixon did not want to be sexually harassed or be placed in danger of a sexual assault again. Defendant then retaliated against Dixon. Defendant told Dixon if he quits and told the other actors why he quit, he would be in breach of his contract. Defendants told Dixon that the only way out was to portray his departure from the show as a medical leave due to the emotional distress caused by the sexual harassment. Instead, defendant made the leave of absence unpaid and therefore terminated plaintiff's employment, causing Dixon additional loss of income and insult. But Tyler Perry is fighting back. In a statement, an attorney for Perry reportedly said the allegations are a, quote, scam. The attorney went on to say, we are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail. The attorney, who according to TMZ is identified as Matthew Boyd, said in full, this is an individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam. But Tyler will not be shaken down. We are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail. Joining us now is former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani. Thank you for taking the time, as always, to be with us here on Law and Crime. I know we're still gathering information about exactly what Derek Dixon is accusing Tyler Perry of, but from what we know right now, how strong of a case does it seem that he has?
Chris, thanks for having me. Really breaking news today. Bombshell lawsuit against Tyler Perry, and information is coming in, but it does seem to be a strong case, at least in terms of the text messages. Sometimes
I was just about to say that. Text messages can't be denied. If he would have got him on recording saying some of this stuff, that is also undeniable, but you can't fake text messages. You can fake them on your phone, but you can't fake them when they go to pull those actual phone records from the phone company. Can't fake those.
Times in the sexual harassment cases, really the harassing behavior happens behind closed doors, and it's a he said, or he said, she said, or she said type situation. But text messages are fantastic, whether you're a prosecutor or a civil plaintiff's lawyer like I am. And looks like Dixon may have the receipts in this case.
He's looking for $260 million. Even though Tyler Perry is a billionaire, that's still, in terms of net worth, just from what I've been reading online, $260 million is a lot of money. What does that tell you? When someone sues someone, like in this instance, it's not a criminal case, and you're looking for a specific amount of money, what goes into determining what that is?
Yeah, lawyers can say all sorts of things. Really, ultimately, what matters is what they ask the jury for. So they can ask for less or more during closing arguments. So I usually put that aside. It gets a lot of good headlines, but I can't imagine this case being worth 9 figures. Sexual harassment is wrong. No one should be subject to it. And sometimes you get these nuclear verdicts or runaway juries, but I can't imagine a case like this going for that amount, even though, like I said, I don't condone any of this behavior.
No, in Derek Dixon, he has some text messages that very much, if Tyler Perry was someone who was supposed to be professionally his boss, that was going to open up career opportunities. It's not something that a boss would be allowed to say to an employee if that was their relationship. When it comes to this case, what's the bar that Derek Dixon would have to prove in court to get money from Tyler Perry?
So there's a few different claims, and they're all very serious. I'm not trying to downplay any of this. There's a sexual assault, right? Grabbing his buttocks, pulling his underwear down. That's pretty serious stuff. And then you have sexual harassment. What I say is really the worst kind of sexual harassment, which is the quid pro quo. That means, hey, if you perform sexually, I will help your career. And if you don't, I'm going to retaliate. And the argument here is that Dixon was going to be written off the show if he didn't comply with these sexual demands. You know, when you go to law school or you study employment law, that is the textbook quid pro quo sexual harassment. This for that. You give me something, you get a benefit. And if you don't, you're going to be punished.
And Tyler Perry, he is an institution in Hollywood. He's not the type of person, if you were an actor, that you wouldn't want to be on his bad list. Their relationship started around 2019. The most serious incident, according to what we know thus far, is that incident where Derek Dixon said he was staying at Tyler Perry's guest house in Atlanta. He was only wearing underwear, and Tyler Perry apparently pulled his underwear down. That was back in 2021. It's now 2025.
Why are you just wearing, again, not victim, but it's just, we got to make better decisions. So this man was already flirting with you. You got drunk. You're too drunk to drive. Now, I'm not using liquor as maybe because I know what I'm doing when I drink. So no matter how much I drink, I know not to do certain stuff. Then, so you're so drunk you can't drive. Stay the night at this man's house. You could have called the Uber. And then you get down into your underwear in this man's house who's been flirting with you. You say that you don't want to deal with.
What do you make of the timeline that it took for Derek Dixon to come forward with these allegations if they're true?
That's one of the arguments the defense always makes is, well, if you were sexually assaulted or harassed, why did you say? Why didn't you report it right away? What I love as a plaintiff's lawyer is a contemporaneous report. So hopefully they have that. And I understand he's been getting therapy since 2020. So if he mentioned this to his therapist, that would certainly be helpful, in addition to the text message evidence that we had.
I have been using the GLP-1 injections through.
So he's been in therapy. So if the therapist could testify that he's been, I think he already has the case just from the text messages alone. If the text messages are what they say that these text messages are, Tyler needs to just cut him a check, 5 million, 10 million, something like that. And this should be done. $5-10 million should be done. But the worry at this point becomes when these happen, people who do stuff like this is they don't normally get caught on the first go around. So there's probably other victims of this sexual harassment. Like I said, there was a case that Christian Keys brought to the internet, not to court, but to the internet. And he didn't want to name the person, but it sounded, a lot of people thought that it was Tyler Perry. So if he is guilty of this, then there will more than likely be more victims. One person gets paid, then you get more people who normally come forward, maybe an ambulance chaser here or there, some more real victims. And this has the opportunity to become really bad. So I don't know if he had the opportunity to settle beforehand, but if he did and he knows he's guilty, put those caveats in there, then he should have just paid. He should have just pulled the Diddy Cassie, but not a full Diddy. Never go full Diddy. He should have paid before it got out there if he had the opportunity. And he know he did it.
But right, you're talking about a rich and famous individual. And look at what's happened. Perry's lawyer came out and said, this guy's lying. This is a shakedown. This is extortion. They always go after the victim. And we don't know if the allegations are true in this case or not, but very few sexual harassment cases are reported or litigated. And oftentimes the harassers, they get away with it. If you read the lawsuit in this case, it's definitely meant for public consumption. It has those text messages embedded in, and it starts by comparing Tyler Perry to the Harvey Weinsteins and Diddy's of the world. And I'm not saying we've gotten that far, but those are serious sex trafficking, sexual assault allegations. Sexual harassment is wrong and there's some sexual assault certainly alleged in this case, but sometimes people don't want to come forward because if you're a victim, you're gonna have to really tell your story in a very public way. What is interesting though is under California law, he could have filed as a John Doe or a Jane Doe and he chose not to. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, what does that tell you? Because in some ways, I could see if I was the defense to say Derek Dixon wants some notoriety. He's not a household name. He hasn't been in a lot of high-profile shows. He was in a couple Tyler Perry shows. But if you're the defense, and do you look at that he didn't file as a John Doe and say, look, this is proof that this was a shakedown, which is the term that they've used?
Look, it's interesting. Obviously, the fact that he didn't file as a John Doe, that's not an argument that the defense can make. But really, and I've sued a lot of celebrities. I'm sitting here in Hollywood right now. I've represented some, but sued a lot more. So I've handled a lot of cases like this. Most of the time, the victims will come in, and when I explain what a lawsuit entails, they have pause, right? Oh my God, people are going to come after me. They're going to drag me on social media. They're going to call me a liar. I'm never going to work again in Hollywood, right? After making an accusation like this. And I tell them there are certain circumstances where you can file as a Jane Doe or a John Doe. And most of the time, the victims do want to avail themselves of that protection. Now, sometimes the defense lawyers, they hate it because they think that it allows the victims to smear the defendants. Even in the Diddy case and the civil case, some of the judges have unmasked the victims. And obviously that's New York law and federal court, a little bit different, right? But in California, the protection is pretty broad. And most of the time, the victims do want to proceed anonymously to at least protect themselves and their families.
When it comes to, and as someone who has represented people who have been in the seat that Derek Dixon sits right now, where they say they have been through something traumatic and they are going after a very strong and powerful person, you look at that $260 million number, the timing of this coming out, Tyler Perry has this show, it's a movie Straw, it's the most popular Netflix movie of 2025 thus far, 50 million views in its second week. And then here's this lawsuit that comes out. The defense might look at that and say you're being opportunistic, but at the same time, if you are suing someone powerful, how much does the timing factor into when you unveil this lawsuit?
I think they pretty much covered all of the things all of the topics from the case as it is right now. So my take is that I would not be surprised if Tyler Perry was guilty of this. I would assume, when you hear things, you normally believe it or don't believe it, and then you can deal with whatever facts as they come out. I'm on a side right now where I do believe that he has done these things. I do leave my mind open to new evidence to prove that this guy is an ambulance chaser or just trying to run up a quick little bag. But I do lean to Tyler may have done this. And if he did it, then he has to pay. And like I said, the text messages, they don't lie. So if he has text saying that he's done these things, then that's the seal. That's the day and age we live in. If things are recorded or put in text message or email, you're cooked. And that's a good thing because it allows for victims to have an easier chance of making their case and proving that they were actually victims so that they can receive whatever monetary gain or whatever criminal repercussions that they are pursuing. So anyway, that was my take. I'm Gary from fitnessfirstnutrition.com. Please comment, share, subscribe. I thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.